Okay, so I found a couple of videos that only China has put out. And so I wanted to um, out them in case they're taken down, kind of to share what's going on. See, they don't realize what they've put out. What they've put out is, hey, look, we did a double organ transplant on two different people. One was a woman, one was a man. One was 60 years old, one was 50 years old. They both had this COVID-19 coronavirus, SARS 7.0, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, this one guy, I've got to find a video where he's speaking. He was saying, how is it possible, since the donor has to be brain dead, how is it possible that so quickly they found lung uh, donors for lungs, when most times that would happen if there's a car accident and then the victim dies only brain dead. And in a car accident, usually the steering wheel would hit your chest anyhow and maybe even damage your lungs. But they would have to, even if it didn't, they would have to be brain dead, and they would also have to be a match. It's hard to find a match to any kind of transplant, but it has to be your blood type. All kinds of stuff has to be the same, and it has to be a viable organ. So this guy questioned it, and I'm with him about how are they going to have donors? How could you possibly have donors when there's no cars going around right now anywhere in China? You're not even there's no traffic. How would you hit anything? No one car could hit another because there's no cars, period, on the street. So he said, he's alluding to, it's got to be that they're, killing the prisoners and using their organs like they promised they wouldn't do anymore, but they've been doing it for a long time. And then there's a recent report out. So I'm going to show these two, and then I will get into the report on a different video. I wanted to use this as a source in case they take these down. Play these two. This is where they just recently completed on a maintenance patient, a 6-year-old woman. Got it. Point is this: they've done lots of liver transplants, and they have done double lung transplants and stuff. Okay, um, but for them to put this up there, touting that they did these, but it was after everything was on lockdown, and there's no way. I mean, it's got to be at least 6 months to a year before you would get a lung match, a lung transplant match. And those people, not everybody's an organ donor, so that mathematically runs the likelihood of being able to get a match for lungs. And usually people, you also got to figure they have to be very, because you wouldn't want an old set of lungs. So then there you go. That cuts it down numbers likely wise, that they would even have them. So, and it's run through the government, and the military government over there guarantees organs. And there's a guy who was talking about that. So I'd have to find here, transplant business. This one, I guess I could go ahead and play this. I was going to put a link to this on this one. This will work.
Not all reporters inside China are facing crackdowns on how they can cover the coronavirus.
15 hours
Some
ago.
are being praised by the authorities.
This is
but
recent.
What kind of articles are they really publishing? The outbreak has greatly impacted global business with China. A Wall Street financier says a lack of transparency will push American investors away from the country. And the UK and Ireland are now included under President Trump's European travel ban. UK coronavirus deaths doubled in only 24 hours yesterday, now rising to 21.
Welcome to China in Focus. I'm your host, Tiffany Meyer. An undercover video provides new evidence for a 14-year-old yet still horrifying allegation that prisoners of conscience are killed for their organs in China.
They're saying a 14-year-old one, but they just had the two. Hold on.
As for the principal victims,
this is proof that the 14-year-old thing happened. But the two recent lung transplants is why they're doing this. They just had 2 double lung transplants for people with coronavirus, and everybody's asking, where did they get the lungs from? There's no cars, there's no accidents, couldn't have a brain dead person like that. No, they have people, if you're going on a hunger strike or whatever, that they will kill you, or even if you're just a political dissident or whatever, and they don't like you, and they don't like the Uyghurs and all that. So they have a population of people who believe a certain religion and they don't like it. There's also this other religion. Anyways, here we go.
They're mostly practitioners of the spiritual meditation discipline Falun Gong.
That one is a different one. They want them because they're healthy.
In this undercover video, a liver transplant doctor in China is boasting that he and his team can find the highest quality livers for transplant. This is the latest piece of evidence of forced organ harvesting in China.
Forced.
The video was released for the
kill
first time at a recent policy forum on Capitol Hill. It was filmed by Yu Ming, a Chinese Falun Gong practitioner who later escaped to the US. Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa, is a spiritual meditation system for the mind and body. After its introduction in 1992, it spread throughout China thanks to reports of improved health and moral character. But fearful of its widespread popularity, the Chinese Communist regime began to violently persecute the practice in 1999. In the 5-minute video, he is shown visiting a number of hospitals in Beijing, posing as a patient in need of a transplant. He secretly recorded his conversations with doctors and medical staffs. China's incredibly short wait times have been among the key reasons investigators believe forced organ harvesting is a reality in China. That's because patients can't just book a transplant, instead they have to wait for voluntary donors. More than 1,000 people die every year in the US while waiting for an organ each year. In general, wait times can stretch for months or even years. At the forum where the video was published, the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation released a new organ harvesting report. It states that before 2006, when Falun Gong practitioners made the first claims about forced organ removal, Chinese hospitals publicly advertised transplant wait times of 1 or 2 weeks. The doctor in the video says he has performed 500 or 600 operations.
500 or
He also
600.
told the person undercover that they can get an organ from someone who practices Qigong or meditation, adding that they can even pick out the best
now.
one.
The army runs the hospital, and they guarantee they guarantee that they're good lungs or liver or whatever you get, and they'll go get another one because they got a whole
said the quality of
jail
the
of them.
organs is guaranteed by the armed police hospital in Beijing. He added that an organ has just arrived at the hospital that same day.
Guaranteed means they'll get another set, no worries. From another forced organ harvest.
The practice seems to be well known among patients. The video shows one liver transplant patient offering advice, saying that livers that come from people who meditate are best, and that patients can tell their doctor what they want.
You can order it from somebody that's still living, still using the liver or the lungs. But it's the lung thing with this COVID stuff.
Particularly vulnerable
practitioners, as you heard from
with coronavirus. We can even save the old people, and we have a lower death rate because they've changed the numbers anyhow. They've never given true numbers, but we have to go with their numbers because it's a thing. You have to accept the numbers that are given. They're not testing all the people they pick up at their homes and cremate. Not at all. They're not even testing the ones in the hallway that are dying in the hospitals. They're not testing the ones that are dying in the streets. So, I just wanted to put up that other video, and I'll play the rest of this, but at least now it's archived. So if they do realize, hey, we shouldn't have maybe put up that, yeah, we did double lung transplant, and that was the only video I found.
I said, don't you want to starve yourself to death? To help you achieve that wish of yours, the spare parts in your body can even go to a good person as a contribution.
You explained that a few days later, he overheard the doctor saying either his blood test was bad or the match was bad, so his life as organ transplantation sector exploded. Thousands of transplant surgeons were trained, and hundreds of hospitals began offering routine transplants. The timeline coincides with the communist regime's persecution of Falun Gong, which started in July 1999. At the forum, New Jersey Congressman Chris Smith said it's easy to believe the acts are those of a few rogue doctors.
And that is not the case. This is mainstreamed by this Chinese government leadership. The fact is that there's a massive infrastructure, development of facilities, and medical personnel for organ transplant operations, often started before any voluntary donor system was even planned.
An independent tribunal in London confirmed the existence of these practices. According to China Tribunal's final judgment earlier this month, there's been a population of donors that Chinese hospitals have access to, and whose organs can be extracted on demand. The report said it was indeed Falun Gong practitioners who were used as a source, probably the principal source for the regime's long-term forced organ harvesting.
We, the tribunal members, are all certain. In China, forced organ harvesting from prisoners of conscience has been practiced for a substantial period of time, involving a very substantial number of victims.
Panelists at the forum said the world can't continue turning a blind eye to it.
Newspapers have squelched stories or refused to correct misleading reports. Big human rights NGOs have said, in effect, we don't know anything about this.
My final words, it's inevitable that justice will prevail. However, it's our choice whether that happens sooner rather than later. Since the coronavirus outbreak started, authorities in China have tightened the control of information. In-depth reports from major outlets completely removed from the internet. Citizen journalists disappearing and opinion blogs shutting down. But in contrast to all this, some reporters inside the country are being rewarded, and their coverage is being promoted by state officials.
We should use the pens and cameras in our hands as weapons to tell the world, loud and clear, how China has fought against the outbreak.
Liao Jun, a senior reporter with state media Xinhua News, was invited as a guest speaker to a press event to share her experience. State media outlet China Daily called her a frontline superwoman fighting the virus. Another praised her for showcasing the responsibility of a media person. And yet people quickly found out that many of her reports are not truthful, but told the official party line instead. This is the same journalist who reported that 8 people, including whistleblower Dr. Li Wenliang, have been, quote, legally punished for spreading rumors about the virus. Throughout January, she wrote several articles citing experts saying Wuhan's coronavirus outbreak is preventable and controllable. Liao repeated the authorities' deceptive talking points until last minute. In an article published on January 19th, she cited an expert saying there have been no infections among people who have been in close contact with the coronavirus patients, suggesting that the virus is not contagious among humans. The next day, on January 20th, Chinese authorities admitted that human-to-human transmission is happening. According to a state media report, Liao has published over 500 articles during the outbreak.
I'm a reporter who has worked for over 20 years. I'm also a Communist Party member.
The limelight on Liao has provoked debates in China. The virus whistleblower who spread truthful information were punished, and yet she, who helped spread official fake news, has been praised. One article circulating on WeChat said because of these untruthful reports, countless Wuhan residents were misled, countless were infected. The article...
Yeah, I'll go further. Okay, they knew about this either at the 1st of November or end of November, and definitely knew about it in the 1st of December. So in the 1st of December, there was a meeting between the Chinese and a big delegation of them and people in our government. And it was really weird. They said they were shaking hands with everybody, almost like they were on purpose, like wanting to shake everybody's hand, right? They were likely spreading it on purpose, and they ran out. There was some kind of a forced vaccination program that China had recently, and it had to do with coronavirus. I think they were trying to inoculate their people against this thing they were fixing to release. And then when they released, they were actually shaking hands with everybody in our government and all this. And some of our people in our government do have it now. And so I really think that was their delivery system, was the people at that delegation shaking hands. So I'm gonna get off this thing. You pretty much get the point, though. If they have elderly that live over there, it's because they're stealing organs, stealing lungs from the Uyghurs or those, that religion people or whatever that's imprisoned, and killing them, and then taking their lungs. So it's kind of messed up. So there's that. I just want to document this. I'll put the links up in the description. You need to prep now, and you need to grow a garden. You need to have, they're saying, even 3 months of food. I was saying 6 to 8 weeks, because I think that a lot of things that you like that you can't buy. So I can't say what, because I don't know yet. But I would say the things that are in short supply in some of these places are dish soap, vitamins are getting tore up, but they're replacing them, but they're getting tore up. They need to get better about replacing them, because they're still empty shelves even when they replace them. Toilet paper is being bought up, but it will level out. Chicken noodle soup is getting tore up, and I would say things like Tylenol and stuff, you need to have Tylenol, and it might be a little bit difficult to get some medicines. So definitely have your prescriptions up to date, and if you need car repairs, you better get them now while there's a mechanic that can fix your car. I'm gonna tell you that. So stay safe. I'm gonna get off this thing.